Well, looks like I finished my first year of reviewing anime. Granted, I sometimes get overwhelmed or distracted, so I go months without posting anything. And even when I do post something, it takes me hours and hours to edit. And sometimes I get behind schedule and don't even get to post the videos that I make. And sometimes I lose footage or get a copyright strike. And I've had to slog through hours of anime that it's physically hurt me to keep watching. Maybe I should just give up and play video games all day. Hello, I'm Jacob Chimera, and welcome to the Anime Lookback at Fall 2017. Today, I wanted to look at one of the best anime of this season, Recovery of an MMO Junkie. Now, as the title suggests, a massively multiplayer online game is at the center of the story. However, unlike most anime in the MMO genre, this story focuses on the social aspect rather than the action. The story begins with Morioka Morioko quitting her job so she can become a NEET, relieving herself of the strain of social interaction to spend her days playing a cool guy named Hayashi in an MMO. She meets a cute girl named Lily, and soon the two become fast friends. However, Morioka's life doesn't stay simple as she starts running into more and more people IRL. In the coincidence of the century, the man that plays Lily's character, Sakurai Yuta, meets and finds himself falling in love with Morioka. Confusion, misunderstandings, and all kinds of hilarious events unfold in this unique romantic comedy. I find this anime to be a stellar example of how a common, even overused premise can still be used effectively so long as the character development and storytelling is on point. Because let's be honest, the idea of a video game world is a little old in both Western and Eastern media. Now, the reason why Recovery of an MMO Junkie works is because the game world and the real world are both used as framing devices to tell an interesting love story. The characters are actively developed through both mediums. The beginning of the show focuses primarily on the game, showing the characters only interacting in the MMO. But as the story progresses, more and more time is spent in the real world to show Morioka slowly becoming more comfortable with her surroundings, as well as the people she initially met in the game. It's a subtle element that leads to an examination of our social interactions IRL compared to those in MMOs. The characters are a lot of fun, especially the main characters. Intriguingly enough, each of them is technically presented to us twice, once in the game world, once in the real world. The person's avatar is an extension of themselves, and therefore an extension of their personality. This leads to some interesting examination of their character. Take, for example, Morioka. In the real world, she has low self-esteem, but in the game, she builds a character she intends to be strong and cool. It creates some interesting conflict when she needs to break this image to ask for advice from her friends in the game. Likewise, Sakurai is helpful and sensitive, but somewhat reserved. In the game, he exercises this side of himself fully by playing the kind-hearted Lily. Since both main characters have avatars that are an extension of some part of themselves, it creates a basis for their relationship in reality before their initial meeting. Besides the two main characters, many of the side characters express themselves uniquely through the game as well. Fujimoto is the head of their guild in the game, but in reality, he's a young convenience store attendant aspiring to become a businessman. He's extremely responsible and the kind of guy that would make a good boss, so it's interesting to see the contrast between the version of him in total charge and the version of him that definitely isn't in charge. One of my few complaints is that we're never really shown Lilac IRL. This is especially disappointing because there's an episode that gives us just a glimpse of her, along with the suggestion that there might be something between her and Fujimoto. Now, to be fair, putting another romance into a 10-episode anime would have just distracted from the primary focus. But then that begs the question, why did they include it at all in the first place if they weren't going to do anything with it? I also liked Kowai's character. He's an over-energetic goofball that ends up playing matchmaker to push Morioka and Sakurai closer together. He moves the story along through his meddling. His silly, almost thoughtless exterior contrasts well with Sakurai's more serious disposition. Kowai does play the MMO in one episode and ends up making a character I believe reflects his personality perfectly. A muscle-bound blonde bombshell. I'm going to address the ending of the show now, so if you want to avoid major spoilers, now would be a good time to opt out of the video. So, normally it bothers me how romantic comedies tend to be very uncertain about whether or not their two main characters ended up together or not. Now, Sakurai and Morioka's relationship is somewhat ambiguous at the end of this anime. However, with how this particular story is told, I feel like it makes a lot of sense. In the final episode, the two end up at Sakurai's apartment during a rainstorm. And by God, you would need a steak knife to cut the sexual tension in that room. In typical rom-com fashion, they're interrupted before anything serious can happen. The episode then ends with them meeting up later to go to a movie and dinner, holding hands in the final scene. I normally prefer something more concrete, but I believe this ending fits the characters better. They're both shy and unexperienced in love. If something had happened between them, it wouldn't have fit their characters. After everything that happened in this show, I think this simple ending is perfect for them, and it's enough for me. This anime is a fun little number. It's wonderfully sweet and relaxing to watch. The perfect show for taking a load off after a long, hard day. It's fairly popular, so I feel like I don't even need to promote it, but even so, I highly recommend it to watch whether you're a fan of romance, comedy, or just looking for something enjoyably calm.